Well, g'day, my name is Shane Rattenbury. I'm the Speaker of the ACT Legislative Assembly. We're going to go and have a bit of a tour around today and have a bit of a look at what goes on inside the building. So let's head on inside. So this corridor is known as the Green Mile. It picked that term up after the 2008 election when 4 Greens came in and they put us all on this side of the building together, and so the attendants nicknamed it the Green Mile just because we took up the whole corridor. One of the things I'll point out is this stack hat. Now, it looks very glamorous, great stack hat from the 80s. This is because on sitting days we have an item called Matters of Public Importance, and that's where we have a free debate for 1 hour on a particular topic. The successful topic of the day gets drawn out of a hat, and so the previous speaker was a fireman, and he'd had an old brass fireman's hat. When I arrived and became the speaker, someone decided that a bicycle helmet, given my love of cycling and triathlon, would be the most appropriate thing, and this very stylish stack hat became the one. Each of the party groupings has a party room where they get together and meet. So there's a Labor one and a Liberal one, and this is for the Greens down here, the crossbench room. So you can see, big table where we all sit around and talk about policy things, prepare for a sitting week, whatever the occasion may be. We also often meet with community organisations or lobby groups that come in to see us in this room. You can see we've got some political cartoons up on the wall. The way the building's set up, there is a bit of a hierarchy to it. The regular members get a regular office. The Leader of the Opposition gets a bigger office, has a bigger staff obviously. We'll head up now to the second floor, which is called the Executive floor.
It's really white, that's good.
Yeah, it is a nice building in that sense. I think quite like it. So this is the Chief Minister's office. You know, the discussion is often about what happens on the second floor because it's where the ministers are, and so the political discussion often goes in that way. Just around the corner here's the Cabinet room. We can't go inside, I don't have a key for that one.
The devil's actually.
Oh, it is. Oh, there you go. We probably better not. I'm not allowed to. It's supposed to go in there, so we better close the door and keep going, I think. The Speaker is responsible for the Assembly building, and so I have that responsibility, but the Executive, the government, sort of controls their own space. Come on in. This is one of the ACT Assembly's committee rooms. A lot of the work done by the Assembly is actually done in committee. So we have a range of committees. There's a Health Committee, an Education Committee, a Climate Change and Environment Committee. All of these do a lot of work. They're cross-party committees, so there's usually a member from Labor, Liberal and the Greens. They produce reports, they hear witnesses, so a lot of community groups will either make a submission or come appear before a committee, and that committee work often then really informs the policy debate that goes on in the Assembly. The Assembly on average sits about 42 days a year. It's just 14 sitting weeks of 3 days, and people say, well, that's not a lot of work. But the reality is that a huge amount goes on in researching policy, in doing the committee process. Over this Assembly, there's been more than 200 committee meetings a year, each year that's gone on across. So that takes up a lot of the members' time. A meeting can often go for 3 or 4 hours at a time where witnesses are appearing, and then the committee will sit down afterwards and discuss that, produce their report, and that report will then be tabled in the Assembly. You know, they sit down and they'll actually freely discuss an idea. And the party overtones are always there, but there have been unanimous reports on very contentious issues. The entire staff of the Secretariat, the whole Parliament, is about 40, and so it's just a pretty lean and efficient operation on the whole. Yeah, we'll just cut through this way. You're getting the back corridors to here, it's all class. This is an Assembly fixture. This is Noel Towell, who's the Chief Assembly Reporter for the Canberra Times.
Hello lads.
G'day. G'day.
So Noel's the guy you regularly see with the byline on the front page of the paper on Assembly matters. So
I haven't had a front page in ages, Shane, you know that.
It's because you've been on holidays, Noel.
That's true.
Good afternoon. So this is the Assembly's library. We've got quite a small library, say, compared to Federal Parliament, but a terrific library service that is provides a whole lot of support to members in the Assembly, whether it's media monitoring or getting books in that we need. So this is the Hansard office. So in the tradition of sort of Westminster or English origin parliaments, all of the debates are recorded. They're all then transcribed word for word, and so the staff sit here and they furiously type away and try and make sense of what the members have said down in the chamber. I think sometimes they struggle a bit if a member's either mumbling, or often there'll be a lot of interjections and it can be very difficult to sort of pick out, but they do an outstanding job of cutting through all the noise and actually churning out a transcript very quickly. It's usually produced, the first draft is produced on the same day that the Assembly sits. We've got some interesting ones as well, you know, it's very abstract. One of the really nice parts of the ACT Assembly is that we're building an art collection of ACT artists and ACT themed works. It's a small collection compared to, say, the Federal Parliament, but it's slowly building up. Now, this one on the wall behind me is actually a special commission that we did for the 20th anniversary of self-government in the ACT in 2009. And this was done by a local artist specifically to try and celebrate 20 years of local government here in the Territory. So the thinking behind it was very much to incorporate what Canberra's all about and the sort of issues the Assembly deals with. This is the mace of the ACT Assembly. Like everything else about the Assembly, it's quite a modern one. You know, if you look at the ones in other parliaments, they're perhaps 100 years old, but because the Assembly is so new, this was actually given as a gift to the Assembly in 2004. It was a gift from the other parliaments of Australia, and you can see it's got the ACT bluebells carved into the timber here. All right, come on in, gentlemen. So we're in the Assembly chamber now. That's sort of where ultimately it all takes place. We've just come in through the Speaker's door. Like most parliaments, it starts in the morning with the Speaker proceeding in behind the mace. It's not quite as grand as Peter Slipper up in the Federal Parliament. Because we're such a young parliament, some of those old traditions of the wigs and the like are not there. It's very low key in the ACT Assembly. So the Speaker sits up there at the front. Right in front of me is where the two clerks sit. They provide procedural advice to the Speaker and keep a track of proceedings and keep minutes of proceedings so that we know what's going on. We've then got the traditional Westminster horseshoe-shaped chamber. So on the far side is where the government sits, to the right of the Speaker, as is the English tradition. On this side is the opposition, and then around the back here at the top of the horseshoe is where independents or cross-party, cross-bench members will sit. You'll see here we've got the traditional hourglass. This is actually 4 minutes of sand in here. When a vote is called for, when there's going to be a division in the chamber, it gets turned over and the bells start ringing and members have got 4 minutes to get down to the chamber. Members almost always make it. I think there's only been once or twice this Assembly where somebody hasn't made it. The first time was because a member was outside of the building in the car park talking to somebody, didn't hear the bells going, and once the 4 minutes is up, the door gets locked and you can't come in if you've missed the time. From a journalism point of view, one of the things I should point out is the media box at the back of the chamber here. It's just up behind the public galleries, and so the lights, it looks a little dark in there at the moment. When the lights are on, that's where the journalists sit and observe the Assembly, so they've got a space specially reserved for them. Again, as is the tradition in most parliaments, there's always a space for the journalists. The members sit together and talk freely about policy issues. That's for the outtakes tape.